Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Basden. Joining me is co-host Garrett Punchy Dill, Maceo Dill, and we await the arrival of Coach Nikita Robinson as well. But good evening, gentlemen. Let me just run down the results as we have them from this weekend and this past week of football. In the Premier Division, yesterday it was St. George's Colts 2, Somerset Trojans 1. Last night at the BAA Field, it was Robin Hood 1, PHC Zebras 3. And then today at the Wellington Oval, it was Hamilton Parish 1, North Village Rams 2. Over at Lords and St. David's, it was Crossroads 0, Devonshire Cougars 2. The final Premier Division match between the Dandytown Hornets and Boulevard Blazers is set to get underway at 6:30 this evening over at the BAA Field. In First Division play on Thursday night at the BAA Field, it was BAA 2 came from behind to defeat Somerset Eagles 2-1. And then at Southampton Rangers yesterday, it was Paget Lions 1, Young Man Social Club 3. And then today at Southampton Oval, it was Southampton Rangers 5, Island Rangers 0. And then at Lords today, it was St. David's 1, Devonshire Colts 2. Those were the scores from this past weekend of football. Let's just start out with that Premier Division match yesterday at the Wellington Oval at 3 o'clock, where St. George's stayed in the hunt, actually was league leaders for a few hours after they defeated the Somerset Trojans 2-1. If you look at the St. George's season, we said they needed to, if they wanted to get anything out of it, they have to win these type of games. Unfortunately, they didn't get the job done when they played Devonshire Cougars last week, but they were able to get over the hump of Somerset this week. A big rivalry with the two clubs, but St. George's were able to do it. Punchy, when you look at a team like St. George's, they have the two leading goal scorers in John Tate Smith and Blaze Hall. Both of them scored. What they have this FA Cup semifinal coming up. They're 2 points from the top of the table. How do they manage those? I want to say the excitement and the nerves because we're coming down to the wire.
Yes, it is. We're coming to the back end and the business end of the season, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call it in England, the business end of the season. I think they're in a good frame of mind. I think one of the whole brothers got injured though.
Yes, he got injured against Cougars. Blaze.
Yeah, he did. Yes, Blaze.
I'm sorry, Cash. Sorry, Cash.
But still being able, that was a very important victory, a more boosting victory to go against PHC. Because, like I said, it's really good because with them, from the beginning of the season, I said there is a building process going on there, and you recognize in these type of games that they won yesterday that they need to win. And I'm sure Somerset were no easy task. It wasn't an easy task. My thing is that still I was saying that playing at home, how do they set the team up to play at home? And they got that victory, which is I think very important. They had to play Mr. Douglas in goal. They told me
Douglas was in goal.
Tremendous save. A tremendous save. So that is it's just you see the camaraderie is there. It's good for them. It's good for football in this country. What's going on at St. George's, and again, you can't help but with Jonte with the whole brothers, and that I do see that they're in it. It's going to be right down to the wire with St. George's in it, and with this FA game coming up against PHC. Oh, this is good. Yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that definitely. Yeah. Maceo, Scott Morden has had a up and down time at Somerset this first year for him. What does he do looking forward to change the mentality of the current crop of players and anybody that's willing to come up there for next season?
Yeah, that's a difficult one for Scott. It'd be interesting if he is committed to stay around for the 3-year span, right? And try to change the mentality, because again, if you analyze Scott's coaching, from the first time Scott coached that he came first, he was on Dennytown, and we know the type of player Dennytown has. We know Dennytown has a capable enough players, and he didn't have success on Dennytown, and I think the lack of success of Dennytown had to do with the different mentalities, the disciplined mentality that Scott was bringing to Dennytown versus the rawness that they have. So I think it was a clash there. Then you analyze Scott at North Village. North Village is what people have called over the years a societal team. We obey societal laws. You can get along with us. And Scott now made his name at North Village, but North Village also had good players. North Village had good players. He's going up Somerset, and they don't have good players. They don't have good players. So it's a challenge to know what he could do. And Scott's coach, and even at PHC, when he was at PHC, he had Marco Warren, he had Sequoia, he had Trey Mean, that are good players that he just had to bring discipline. That's the same thing he brought to North Village. He brought discipline to an indisciplined group at North Village at that time. Up Somerset, he just do not develop it. They don't have the quality of a player. So it's very difficult if he can bring that off. And it's not like Scott goes in and has a follower. Scott's not like Jamal, where he has a follower and a players that follow him. He goes in and deals with what's there and tries to change that. So at this point in time, I don't know what Somerset's got coming behind this group. He's in a challenge as to the quality of player that he is. And do now Somerset recruit? Does Somerset want to recruit and bring in alternative players? So he's in a very difficult challenge. I don't see a solution to it just yet, because it's not good enough players have a good enough mentality. And I'm not just speaking of good enough players from a technique standpoint. I'm speaking of they don't have a mentality there anymore. Somerset don't have a mentality that they once had. Because I thought it was going to reactivate. I thought the mentality after winning a trophy was going to say, okay, that mentality is back in Silver City, but it didn't happen. So I don't know. We'll see.
Good evening, Coach. How are you?
Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. I want to get your reaction to the first game we're talking about, which was yesterday's match, St. George's and Somerset. Looking at the two teams, two different seasons. Just give us your opinion on both teams, on what they've been able to accomplish this year and what they haven't been able to accomplish, from a club standpoint.
Well, I agree that I'm not surprised at the result. Surprised St. George's didn't score more, but then injuries, a lot of football that's been played over the past couple of weeks. For both for St. George's in particular, some tough matches, right? For Somerset, I'm sure that Scott has got a program. I think it's a process. I don't think Scott expected much more than what Summit is giving right now. Poor guy. He inherited Joe Ma's mess. Let's call it as it is. And I think they're doing well enough to stay. I think. I don't know where they are on the table. Are they going to survive? Are they not going to survive?
A lot depends on tonight.
Right. Boulevard and Town, right? So are they going to survive? Are they not going to survive? What does that look like? I'm happy for St. George's. St. George's is not fighting for survival in the Premier. They're fighting to win the Premier League. That's exciting, and it bodes well for football. And I think that was St. George's plan going in. Let's see where our ceiling is, and they may have surprised themselves as well. Of course, picking up players mid-season would have helped them tremendously. So it's a good space for them to be in. And again, Somerset, will look to bring in players and all of that.
Well, last night, PHC, we talked about possibility of goal leverage. And a lot of people would have been thinking the same way, but Robin Hood stunned a lot of people when they took the lead last night, but eventually would fall 3-1 to PHC. But it's one of those things where we saw PHC suffer at the hands of Hamilton Parish a few weeks ago, for underestimating them. I'm not saying that PHC were underestimating Robin Hood, but the amount of chances that were created and the amount of chances that were missed, sometimes you relax way too much thinking, okay, this is going to be easy, and then it becomes a challenge. Your thoughts on, Maceo, your thoughts on PHC's approach to, or the result of just 3-1 when a week before they defeated Crossroads 7-0.
I mean, I think it's, let's call it what it is. It's hard for players to get up to play Robin Hood, and it's even hard for professional players to get up to play teams that are not at that level. PHC would have found the motivation to get up to play Crossroads because of what Crossroads was doing. So they would have found that motivation. And just take it off PHC. Let's talk about let's try to bridge the gap. Michael Jordan used to make up stuff to get mad at, so he finds motivation. Because he was so good, he had to make up stuff. He said, "Okay, you said this to me in the media. You said something about my mama. All right." He knew psychologically he had to make up stuff so he'll be motivated because he was already great. So PHC is in a position where they know they're better than Robin Hood, and they would have took a better mentality towards that. That mentality that they didn't smack Robin Hood how they should have smacked Robin Hood. You can see the mentality was there. The players could be maybe I don't want to get injured. I don't want to exert myself because I want to last the season. So that inevitably creeps into it. But I think what's important is that they got the 3 points across the line. Mm-hmm. That's the important part. They got that 3 points across the line. But that is also dangerous because I think the league's shaping up rather than who wins it, who is shaping up to say, well, who loses it? Who makes a mistake? Like historically, a league is won because somebody at the business end of the season doesn't make a mistake. But it's shaping up to say, well, somebody can make a mistake and somebody else can win it based on somebody's mistake.
And that could be next week when we talk about the picks. So we'll get into that. Punchy, Robin Hood, obviously surprising. I mean, last week we talked about them only having 11 players or 12 players. This week they have a full team and take the lead. They still have some pride to play for because they still get guys to come out. So clearly they have something there. They just need to build on it. Your thoughts for them for next season? Yeah,
that will be a building. That's what we're talking about, a building process, because we do know they're going to be demoted. That will be starting all over again. And then about recruitment and sustain themselves with 16 or 20 players that they can count on. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would think with Robin Hood. What will they do next in terms of next year? Who they try to recruit? And that's what it's come to in this country eventually. How do you get some of the better players to come over and play for you? Mm-hmm. And that would be Robin Hood. I mean, it's easier when you 13 guys show up, they play on a Friday or Saturday night. Hey, they put the effort in, even if it's against whoever it is against, and they're just playing. They're just out there playing. But in terms of going up, and it's like it's really hard to understand sometimes about what really is going on in this country with teams like Robin Hood. Mm-hmm. That guys can just show up and then give PHC a problem. Right. So with Robin Hood again, I just think about it's a rebuilding process, what they will do next year. Because I'm sure if they do stay, they don't fade away like what happened to Vasco da Gama, the likes of Vasco da Gama, right? That it's about recruitment now. With what talent that you can recruit, and how are you gonna go about doing it?
Right. Well, we're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk Premier Division football from today's action. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Bai Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Bai delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Bai are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Welcome back. Well, down at Wellington Oval earlier today, it was the North Village Rams scoring 2 goals in the final few minutes to come from behind to defeat Hamilton Parish 2-1. Just a comment from our previous, before we went to commercial break, Robin Hood couldn't beat Zebras at the West, so yeah.
Yeah.
This season.
That's true.
This season. But yeah, all the goals coming in the second half. But Punchy, talk us a bit through Hamilton Parish. I mean, here we find ourselves, or they find themselves, not much left to play for. They know they have enough points to stay up. They have 20 points. They're out of the FA. But there seems to be a struggle going on down there now. What do you think?
Well, yeah. With what I first noticed was the amount of guys they didn't have on the bench. I think they had maybe 1 or 2 substitutes. That was very evident. Sergio suspension, but I heard they've got injuries also, and there's some other players that just not decide to show up for whatever reason. But it's kind of, because I looked at them playing today. They're still not a bad team. They got this guy Castle. I think he's Castle. I think he plays for him. He came from
Casey Castle.
That's Jackson.
Jack Castle.
That's Jackson, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, the goalkeeper, and then there's the other guy that plays center half, Burgess, I think, is another Burgess. Oh,
Queen Outer Bridge.
Queen Outer Bridge. I'm sorry, Queen Outer Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
They were at it today with what they had on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great goal that was scored against North Village. So a great goal. But, there must be hard for Sergio coming from an institution like North Village, who, he's got all this to pick from. And then all of a sudden, he's dealing with this, with only 12 players to play against North Village. And of course, the mentality about what you're playing for. But what I saw for them, from them today, is that there was, what Sergio is trying to do there. The footballing wasn't bad from them. What they lack is a center forward. Just like a center forward. They lack a finisher. I still think that a person like Hollis, Shane Hollis, is not involved enough. I guess I don't know what his mentality is like now, because now it's no FA Cup, he can't win the league, but he needs to be more of a leader in that team. Now I don't know if he has the mentality for that, where he plays, and but they still looked very promising at times, especially I don't think that both teams dealt with the condition standard. They don't. At times, that especially North Village, but Hamilton Parish, I still see that there's something there. There's something there, and I was really happy with the goalkeeper Burgess. I think it's Burgess.
Nigel.
Oh wow, yeah, and then North Village 2 late goals were of course scrambled. They were like desperate types of goals, and they, but I still getting back to Hamilton Parish. I hope that again for them, they need more bodies there. And there was this little young man I saw that played for the national team. I talked to Maceo about him. Low Burgess guy, I think, right,
Yes.
Maceo?
Ja'Cory.
Oh, I could tell you this. Now, when I was coming along, the nurturing of me with the seniority, when they push young players at North Phillips into the team, we will always nurture how the senior players play. But I see that happening a lot in the teams, like a team like Hamilton Parish, to nurture that young man because there's talent. It's pretty.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Question. Where did they play Burgess to, the young man?
On the left side of the wing. They played him high on the left side.
No, very, very interesting point that we won't go too much into just as I speak of the diversity where we are as a country coaching. In the under 17, they played him left back. So they played him left back. So
wow.
You see how miles apart we are in our coaching. Sure. And I'm not saying either one's right or either coach is wrong by the position that they played them based on the team concept. But this is how miles apart we are in our mentality of coaching and why we can't figure out how to do good internationally.
So Earl, when I go to a game and I watch this young man play like him, he stands out. It's like, oh, his first touch is good. He plays wide. He knows how to stay on the line. He doesn't give the ball that much. When he looks inside, his pass is on the inside. When he looks inside looking for a pass, it's correct. He's still a little bit, he's a little thin, little guy. I think I'm telling him, yeah, you need to bulk up a little bit, fella. But again, to see what Macy was telling me, playing him at that position, wow. But he was like a spark. But again, Hamilton Parish, getting back to Hamilton Parish, what they need in terms of more ammunition. They need a center forward. They need an out and out center forward because they can create goals. They can create goals.
Well, let me just say it's amazing. It's amazing we say that because last season, although it was first division, Jordan Otterbridge was lighting up the league, scoring from just about anywhere.
Yeah, but
this season, I believe he's only got 2 goals.
Yeah, and of course the opposition is playing against. I said that last year in the talk show. You're playing against Southern Rangers. You're playing against. There's a lot of hype. You're beating Wolves. You're beating Social Club. Of course, you're gonna beat Island Rangers, and you're gonna also beat teams like St. David's, of course. But then you step up. Then you got to come up now. And I always said before, on a Saturday evening game, Hamilton Parish playing against maybe Boulevard. How what happens? And that's what we're doing.
Well,
I don't see Jordan Otterbridge now. 2 goals. And where does he where does he play? Where is he most effective? So what it is that not he's a very good goal scorer, of course, but it's in terms of how does it happen at this level? How do you get the ball to him?
No,
how do you make him most effective?
Yeah. It's got to be a debate around Jordan Burgess as to what is his best position. Is he actually even an attacking player? Because he doesn't possess a lot of speed. He is a correct player. He is a good training player. So it's got to be a debate of, we make this mistake so much in our coaching that we don't understand what type of personality a player is. Just because he can kick well, and we do it in junior football, and our premier football is similar. Okay, here's the fast player that we can kick a ball over and he can kick the ball hard. So here's the striker. No, that player, just because it's fast, he might be the center back in reality of the dynamics of international football. So we make this mistake all the time. We get it wrong as to determine what is a player's best position based on the concept of the game. And I used this analogy when I was in Brazil. It was amazing. When I was in Brazil and watching the academy, and I'm looking at all the creative players, and immediately on my mind, these creative players were the attacking players. When I saw them set up, these creative players and technically gifted players were the defending players. They put them in defensive position because of the responsibility they had in carrying the ball. So we actually get player position very, very wrong in Bermuda. Very, very wrong. We get player position in Bermuda. Straight across the board.
Coach, not sure if you were with us when we were talking about North Village scoring 2 late goals to come from behind to defeat Hamilton Parish. But we've been saying it all this time. North Village keep doing just enough to keep themselves in this title race. Game after game after game, they seem to find a way. I mean, a lot of people talk about, they don't play well, but they do enough to get over the line. Your thoughts on how they've been managing themselves this season?
As you said it, they're doing whatever it takes to get over the line. They're having an never-say-die attitude. They're playing all the way to the end. They would have taken. I feel they should have taken more advantage of Parish and their, just 11 players. From what I know, they didn't have a coach. But again, the results is what matters. And they got 2 late goals. It happens all the time. It doesn't just happen in Bermuda. So, whatever it is that they did to win that match, they're doing it week in and week out. Struggled last week against Dandytown. Village, nothing they're doing is surprising me at all. Nothing they're doing is surprising me at all. And they are grinding out these results against teams that they should grind them out against, right? I was surprised that halftime was 0-0, hearing the current state of Hamilton Parish having only 11 players and stuff like that. I mean, it saddens me. I don't know what's up with Hamilton Parish and why they only have that limited amount of players. Because, they were punching above their weight for a while, doing extremely well. So I don't know what has happened. But, it's football. Conditions, big field, but as you said, they're doing just enough to get across the line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which
I think my take on that, I was to the game. It was struggling. They struggled today. And I think if you were to interview the players after an office, they were very happy. Oh, yeah, 3 points. We got it. We fought to the end. But in terms of, being honest and saying, we were poor today. And we just fought to the end. But I think I've seen this often enough that with North Village, today was a perfect example. Not being, there's a lot of problems that I'm sure, like I said, Kenny must have pulled his head out about what he coaches and what he expects of players. And I think they were in the top third today. They were bad. They looked like they didn't handle the elements good, or they didn't handle the pitch well, the size of the pitch. They looked like they were going too square. The last delivery in the box was poor. And so with they're gonna have a time if they're gonna get it right. We're talking about Paget in this FA game. So they got 2, very good. They persevered. I could give them that. They just kept knocking on the door, and eventually they came through with the victory. And you can win ugly sometimes, and that's what I took it on today. It wasn't good at all, fellas. Trust me. But that 3 points, it mattered today.
Yeah. But the other Premier Division game saw Daventry Cougars go to Lords and beat Crossroads 2-0. 2 early goals in the first half kind of settled Cougars, but then Crossroads were able to resist them for the rest of the game. Coming off of a 7-0 drubbing from PHC, Maceo and Cougars putting themselves in that right back into that title race with the 2-1 win over St. George's. Were you surprised that it was only 2-0 down there?
Nah, because remember, Cougars are just going to do what they need to do to get games across the line. They're an aging bunch. They're our experienced bunch. So at 2-0, they're not going to exert themselves any further to be able to take that game onto 4-5. They're not the old Cougars of later. And that's why I kind of calm them out a bit, because Cougars of later, if they got 2, they got 6 in it. They the momentum. They're not got that part of them. They're not got that cultural part that Cougars historically has. So they're now, and I'm not saying that it's bad or good, because now they're managing themselves, managing where they are as their body, and say, we got 2 goals. We're not going to give up any more goals. And we can get to 3 points. And that's what matters here. So I think it's probably good that they managed themselves. They didn't exert themselves to, they're looking at prevention of injury. They're managing all those other elements of the game, versus the old Cougars of late will give you 6.
Right. Well, because the only thing they have left to play for is the FA. I mean, I'm sorry, the league, because they're out of the FA. So
yeah, so
managing the points.
the fact that they put those 2 goals up on the board quickly, the mentality is going to go, oh, look, let's just get out of here with these 2 points. No cards, no injuries, because everybody would recognize they need to score. They can't afford 1 injury going into the sort of push of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Coach, you look at a team like Crossroads. We were talking about how they were doing well earlier in the season, but the wheels have kind of fallen off of late. You know, where does Ralphie go from here with this team?
Well, you know, PAC is PAC. So that 7 they got last week was, I mean, a given. I think that they would feel, I mean, I listened to Maceo just now, so my thoughts on the game kind of shifted a bit. And I initially was thinking before Maceo spoke that, well done, Crossroads, you know, to only take, you know, a 2, you're talking about a team that, you know, beat a high performance in Georgia's last weekend. To only concede 2 after conceding 7, I think, you know, would have been a good result for him. But in second thought, that probably just not really just going back the other way. And Gumbo's now got to figure out, and that's why it's important. Like, I hope that they record their games. I hope that he makes notes after they do have somewhat of a good performance, right? So that he can then kind of use that, you know. And again, it's the Bermuda way. Like, are guys training? You know, do they have to work? You know, is he even able to implement in training what he wants to see? You know, because I was thinking that, okay, whatever that 7, wherever they went wrong, that 7, then this week they implemented that to minimize the amount of goals they conceded. But again, not having been at the game and listening to Maceo's take on Cougars, I probably have shifted my thought process a bit.
Yeah, and Punchy, your thoughts on these particular 2 teams, because one, I mean, Cougars need to keep winning if they want to try to overtake PHC and hope that PHC have a slip up to win the league. The other, Crossroads, they are not out of danger as of yet in this relegation battle, although they have 14 points. Boulevard have 10. If they win tonight, they go to 13 alongside Somerset. So, you know, they really need to pull their socks up in the event that these 2 teams pick up 4 points.
Yeah. You know, in the last 2 games, they conceded 9 goals. 9 goals for Crossroads. You know, you got to still think look at Crossroads' team. Look at the player personnel in that team. What they have. They went through this period where they drew with North Village. I think they, you know, they were doing quite well. You go back 2 weeks ago with the draws, and okay, but I still don't think they have the quality there. They're a nice bunch of guys, trust me. I think it's, you know, what Gumbo comes from an institution of winning, so it must be pretty difficult for him to swallow. And he looks at what he has, and defensively, you know, they're just conceding goals. So I thought maybe what he would do would be set the team up where it's going to be hard to beat, very hard to beat. And I don't think they're set up that way. And then if you're going to set up that way, who would believe in that? Look, let's get this much man behind the ball, counterattack with Donovan Thompson, and then even if we're winning 1-0, you're not going to get near our goal. And I don't think it's set up that way. What with Cougars now is a whole different story. You know they have quality there. My thing is, look at the last 3 games, and because they got to play North Village at home, and I think that's going to be a real game there. I ain't gonna call that, but right now, but Cougars on any given day, they're capable of beating anybody. They're capable of beating anybody, but they lack again the finishes. Sometimes I've seen some of the stuff I say, whoa, you know, and so again with Cougars, they only got one thing to play for. They're gonna push for any team that Cougars plays up until the end of the season. It's gonna be a real test for that team they're playing against. And I'm saying that includes North Village. So, you know, that's all they got. I think Cougars will probably, you know, you got to keep them. They could probably win the league also, you know.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
without a doubt. Without a doubt. But we're going to take
Yeah,
another commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk the first division standings because things are heating up there as well. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Welcome back. Well, things have made a drastic change in the first division. On Thursday night, BAA had to come from a goal down to defeat Somerset Eagles 2-1, and that winner came in stoppage time, and they moved to the top of the table. But a team like BAA, young team, we know how young they are. They have the experience and coaches of Andrew Bascom and Mark Mills. They've gotten to a point where there's only a handful of games left. We saw what happened to them last year. They didn't achieve, I guess, what they wanted to achieve. Some would have hoped they would have gone up, and others probably would have hoped they wouldn't, to give them another year together down in the first division. But here they are now, top of the table. I believe with 3 games to go for them. Maceo, your thoughts on BAA and They managed to get across the line against Somerset Eagles. So just where they are now with a handful of games to go.
Well, it makes sense, right? It makes sense with young players that when they start to realize how close what the objective is, and the pressure and the expectation and anxiety hits them. So that is bound to happen. So the pressure will hit, the anxiety will hit. Is what do you do with that? How do you manage that? And so it will hit. So it's good to see that they showed the character. Now you're talking about character, that you're down to a team that you think you should beat, and you score in the last minute. So that the fact that you score in the last minute shows that you're staying focused in it. You're not letting the emotions drain you and force you to give up. So the fact that they scored in the last minute will give them a bit of belief, but the pressure will hit. There's no doubt, and there's no people try to distract from the pressure. The greatest people embrace the pressure. They embrace the pressure, and they learn how to deal with the pressure and overcome the pressure, because the pressure is actually the thing that makes you do better. Those that run from it, run from the pressure, it's not good to run from it. So I think it's a good result for them, right? And it's not surprising that they wasn't able to just walk over Somerset Bridge, because the pressure's hitting them. It's hitting them.
Yeah.
But they got, like you said, they got a staff behind them, and I still pick them to be able to overcome it all and get themselves promoted, right?
Mm. Well, Punchy, BAA's played 13 games, got 28 points. Paget Lions have played 13, got 27. Social Club have played 14 and got 27. Wolves have played 13 and got 26. But your thoughts on, we're talking BAA and Somerset Eagles right now. Somerset Eagles, 1 win from 14 games, 13 losses. They've conceded 57 goals, scored 13. Pretty much them continuing on with the season, for me, is a positive thing, because we talked in the past about teams like, remember, when Social Club and Island Rangers were taking hundreds per season, you know. But they continued on, and I'm glad that Somerset Eagles are continuing to show up and play, even though they're not having the season they're having. But your thoughts on possibilities of Somerset Eagles for next season, and where do they go? What do they do? Where do they find players?
Yeah, that's a good one. What do they do next? You know, they're just going to be spoilers because for the rest of the season. They're going to be spoilers because I think last week they went down to St. David's, and did they beat St. David's or they drew with St. David's?
No, they lost. They lost
to St. David's. So my thing is with Jeremy up there. I always ask, like, what is he? You know, this must be a bad time for him again. It's just like Scott Morton. What's he got to work with? What's the mentality up in that area? Somerset Eagles is what we talk about. The club, will they be another club that just has this group of guys to get together and play on Sundays? And it's a worrying sign for the standard of football in this country, a team with that. You know, it's a worrying time for that. Where a lot of those teams are teams like Somerset Eagles and St. David's, they just are there to they're there just to make up the numbers. What do they want to achieve? And that will be about them. It's like getting ready for next year. What will be your recruitment be? It's like
stop talking about Coach Keita's team, St. David's.
I'm not talking about that. Yeah. But you know, Somerset Eagles, it's really a problem that you've seen happening again. I keep pointing to West Ham. What's happening up there? You know, even and I'm saying with Jeremy, with where he's come from, what his coaching, like being involved, is he got the mentality to deal with the West Ham players? I think we're talking about that now, the mentality up there, what it is that's happening in the West Ham. I think Somerset Eagles are going to be a problem. I think I can't see where they're going. I really don't see where they're going.
Yeah. Coach Keita, you've been around the game long enough, and you've known Andrew for quite some time. Last year, we talked about, you know, them coming up short, not getting that promotion spot. This year, they're in even a better position than they were last year. Your thoughts on how he would manage these young players over the next few weeks to keep them in the position they're in, league leaders, possibly winning the title, if not gaining that other promotion spot?
I will say that they're going to continue doing exactly what they've been doing all this time. It's not by chance. I don't think it's an accident. I think it's a well thought out plan. I think going into the start of the season, testing the water, seeing the level of those players, seeing, you know, the opposition, where the opposition is at. And I think the mindset and the mentality of those players from the coaching staff would have put them in the position that they're in. So where other teams will take it for granted, I know those young players realize that they have to work, and they had to work to get to the position that they're in. And I think it will continue on for the rest of this season. You know, as I said, I don't think it's by chance. I think it's by design that they are where they're at. And that the process of what is happening at BA is a well thought out process. Those coaches would know the players that they have, and they would know how to manage those players and manage those players' expectations. And even now, you know, helping them understand that it's the very next game we worry about, not what we're talking about now, promotion and all that. No, let's take care of each game as it comes, and not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Right. Well, yesterday at Southampton Oval, it was a top of the table clash with Paget taking on Young Men Social Club. Young Men Social Club eventually were the winners 3-1. Paget they had a number of players missing either through injury or too many cards. Could be a blessing, could not be a blessing, but the fact that they've now lost 2 games in this league. Maceo, you've been very critical of Paget, a team like Paget, of them not giving up girls, but they found themselves in a position where they were playing against another top team with what they were able to put out there, and I think most of the players from Paget would tell you that we play with what we have. It just didn't work out on the day.
Is two thoughts for this as we looked at all the football. I realized when I coached North Village that time, that there are a lot of teams that are not capable of playing a whole season. There's a lot of players not capable physically and health-wise of lasting a season. And maybe it's because they work or how they train, how they treat their body, how they eat or they don't eat. So we see that happening. So that's one school of thought, is that, and all I had to do with North Village is manage people to get them to the end of the season, get myself to the end of the season when I've got 20-something players to select from that are physically capable, So that was a idea that I took into the season, getting these guys fit enough and balancing their minutes and balancing everything, So when I look at a Paget, when we talked about Hamilton Parish and he got 11 players, it's a crisis health-wise and physical-wise that our players actually can play a season. We're not got capable players of lasting the season. The other school of thought with Paget, with this result, is that I hope Antoine reads 2 books. And the 2 books that I hope he reads is Not All Good Players Make Good Coaches. And then the book that how good players can become good coaches. What is needed from a good player to become a good coach? I've had some conversations with him, and sometimes you feel like you can set an example as a good player to translate into being a good coach. That's not the way to be a good coach. Because the players don't even care that you're a good player. They care about what they want now. So how to become a good coach based on what you know about the game is how can you psychologically convince your players and organize yourself to convince your players to put your tactical plan across the line? How can you learn how to defend? How can you learn how to do those things? And we have talked all season about Paget's inability to defend. So they scored 1 goal in this game, and it probably was short-staffed with players. 1 goal can win you a game, right? But they couldn't defend. They couldn't get a shutout. And the fact that they couldn't get a shutout all season, even to a team like the teams that they should have got shutouts to, the commercial team, the Corona team last week, they couldn't get a shutout. Now it showed up at a bad time, isn't it? The fact that they can't stop giving up goals is showed up at the worst possible time for them that can potentially cause them a lead. So my analysis of them not being able to get a shutout is showing up. My idea, and I saw that problem. And now that problem is manifesting itself in danger now. It's dangerous for them now. Because if they don't get promoted with what they're invested, that's a disaster. That's a disaster. We know what's going to happen if they don't get promoted with what they're invested.
Yeah. And punching. I mean, Young Man Social Club knew they had to come away with 3 points in this particular game in order to throw themselves into this title race, and they got the 3 points needed. Although they played 1 more game than everyone else in the group, you put yourself in a position with the points you have that kind of, sets you up for that final run.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was a valuable win on Saturday. Most important for what they're looking at to achieve at Social Club. I think they are going to be in the title race in terms of being the promotion race. I'm sorry. Again, those type of games, it seems to me that that they came out on top because of you look at Social Club, who they have too, who's playing for them. Don't you know they have some, they've got a couple of their players, sir. And I call them not cast off players. Let me just say that the players that didn't make maybe North Village, that didn't play for Dennytown or didn't play for Cougar, so they have a good cast of players. My thing is this, sir. If they are promoted, who's going to go? Because they would definitely need a recruitment there, and you know, for what to go out and beat Paget on Saturday is a real good boost for them, a real good boost. And but you look at Paget, Social Club, and BA. Andrew has, and I would think, well, with these young players, what Andrew's doing, I don't think he's too bothered about if they get promoted, if they don't get promoted. He's still thinking about the structure of the game, how it should be played, and what he's doing, and what he's doing at BA. But with Social Club, they're gonna be in the title race. I won't put them out of that. I won't.
Yeah. And then today in the first division, Southampton Rangers won the Battle of Rangers at Southampton Oval 5-0. I think we all agreed that Southampton Rangers would win this one. They kind of fell off the rails a bit over the last few weeks, but then to score 5 against Island Rangers, coach, it kind of sets them up for the remainder of the season. You know, where they're now at 20 points, but it's been an up and down season for them. Just your thoughts on what does Southampton Rangers need to do? And I keep looking ahead of next season because some of these teams are out of any type of promotion or rally, you know. So it's now time to start looking at setting yourself up for next season. So looking at a team like Southampton Rangers, we saw what happened to them last year. They're mid-table this year. How do they get better? What adjustments need to be made to make them a better equipped football team for next season?
Well, this weekend's result should give them a boost, right? You know, for us, we have written them off, right? We have written Southampton Rangers off. There was a whole lot of things that was going on. Then they found their feet and they were doing well. And then they dipped again, obviously, because they're mid-table, and now they're back. Well, not back, but a result against Paget would kind of lift them. So again, if they're not in a promotion battle, it's maintaining what they have and try to add to it, try to build onto it. Where they're gonna get players from, I don't know. You know, we thought that certain teams were gonna probably fold. You know, if the Somerset Eagles next year can field players or players want to leave, you know, you can't stop them. You know, maybe they go to Rangers or what have you, but they will have to definitely looking at what they're doing right now and try to maintain that, especially a performance that they would have had against Paget, and then go from that performance and the performance they had against Island Rangers today, go from that performance and just try to build on that. Like I know even Island Rangers have slipped off a touch, right?
Yeah.
They in the beginning we thought, oh wow, this is going to be an amazing season for them. But is it a Bermuda thing? Is it like we come out of the blocks flying, but we can't maintain that? You know, and do coaches look and see why did it fall off? Where did it fall off? How can what do we need to do to help improve that or get back to where we were? You know, is it injuries? Is it lack of players? Is it these? You know, you had certain players in the beginning of the season, and now those players are not available. It's a bunch of different little factors. It has to be, you know, it has to be. And so Southampton Rangers just has to look, and they have to look at rebuilding. Like I still feel that they may be in a little bit of trouble, players wise, but if they can pick up a few more and then think about what it is that, because they were a possibility initially, and they started looking good and picking up those results that we didn't think they were going to pick up.
And Maceo, I want you to talk a little bit about the same scenario with Island Rangers. Like what do they do for next season? What should be their, as a club, what should be their main goal?
Join forces with Somerset. Join forces is they can sustain themselves. I mean, I like to take. I mean, Keita makes a good point. And before Keita I was talking about the inability of players to last the whole season. We can speak about Island Rangers that they picked up a new signing, the guy got a hat trick, and they came out flying, and then they just tape it off. This is something that's been happening for 20 years. I would like to add something else into the equation from a health perspective. Of course, where my job is, I'm interacting with the Department of Health. There's a study out there that Bermuda has a 75% obesity and overweight problem. We see that in football. Players can't last a season. We see that in football. They're not physically capable of playing out a whole season. And is only one club right now that has players that are capable of playing the whole season, and that's PHC. That's just not good enough for football. Even North Village, where I have a fitness coach. I have a fitness coach at North Village that's epitome of fitness. I don't have fitness players there. The players cannot last a whole season. We have to look at that, and when we say analyze it, we have to look at that. Why? What's going on that players cannot last a whole season? I noticed that in my time in the youth. I had players that couldn't play a whole game because he was tired and they was 10 years old. That is a big problem. That is a big problem, and we have to look at it from that angle. So Island Rangers, getting back to Island Rangers, they're not going to get any better next year if we keep on doing it in this way. They're not going to get any better. Somerset Eagles is not going to get any better. Rather, those players go to it. And Somerset is not going to get any better. So the evidence of there's 3 clubs out there having 3 football teams, the evidence of their struggle is there now to see. They're all struggling. You know, next season, 3 West End clubs could be in the lower division. Somerset could get relegated. And Somerset could get relegated with Bermuda's most winningest coach. That's got to be cause for concern for football. That's got to be cause concern for that area, that maybe these 3 teams up there is too much. Maybe there's too much. But maybe we have to get away from our little tribalism pieces, that I'm from Dockyard and I'm from Somerset and I'm from White Hill, to get to what is best for football and our society. Maybe we have to have a conversation that looks like that. And I know nobody likes that conversation, but maybe we have to have a conversation that looks like that. And going back to your earlier statement where you were saying that, Somerset Eagles and even Robin Hood have played out the season, quietly, I was hoping that they didn't, so they're not involved in all that last teams, and players can go to other clubs to fill rosters of other clubs, and we can have more battle competition.
Well, remember when that was on the table for Robin Hood, we were advised that they wouldn't be allowed to play for another club.
Well, and I'm talking about for the future of the game. Maybe this season, those players will be lost to football. But for the future of the game next season, because if we start next season with the same amount of clubs playing, we're going to have the same problem. Because we're not, and if you look at the junior, we're losing players in the junior too, right? We're losing players quicker, like less people are playing football. So if you really did a statistic, less people are actually playing the game. And if we analyze football from what we know, we might have been able to say 20 years ago we started to notice a decline in players playing football around 20 years old. We notice that decline now of struggling to have under 17 league. We notice that decline now of having under 15 league because players are going to more and more kids are going away. So we have to have all that factual information in place. Because if we continue along this way, it undermines the value of the game and the quality of the game. And if we undermine the value and the quality of the game, we can't support ourselves doing well on the international stage. We can't support ourselves doing well.
Yeah. Well, before we go to the final First Division match, we have an update from BAA. The score right now is Boulevard Blazers 1, Dandytown Hornets 0.
Wow.
Well, Punchy, down at Lord's, St. David's had a 1-0 lead going into the second half. over Devonshire Colts, but unfortunately they couldn't hold on to the Devonshire Colts, getting 2 second-half goals.
Yeah.
And put themselves in 5th place. Devonshire Colts do put themselves in 5th place on 24 points from 13 games. But these two teams kind of just, you think, just playing out the season now?
For sure. I haven't seen much of. I've seen St. David's play once, and again, when we talked about St. David's, the priorities, junior, they're trying to really put most of the emphasis on the junior program, you know, and keep the community. They're a community involved club trying to do football and keep the community in the football season. But in terms of progress, in terms of now, I just think they're going to be where they are. I give them kudos to the junior program, what they're trying to achieve there. But again, you know, with the facilities that they have, one of the better playing surfaces to play on, really. But in terms of projection for them, I don't see. I think they're satisfied with what they're doing.
Right.
They get, you know, and with Devonshire Colts, I'm gonna go to Devonshire Colts. Again, not very. I can count on my fingers about the quality players that Devonshire Colts have. Ray Jones is, I guess, like you said, I don't know what his position now is, coach and president. Is he the president?
No, he's not the president anymore.
Well, yeah, but again, he's satisfied with where he is. He's satisfied with what he's doing, and I don't see much progress with them. I don't think they have quality there at all. So they, but on merit, they are where they are in terms of the personnel they have. And it's cause for concern for the national coach, being in the national program. I always thought, and I said to you guys before, why don't he take the challenge up and take on another task outside of Devonshire Colts?
Okay. Well, we're going to take another commercial break. We do have another update from BAA Field, and you see me smiling because the score is now Boulevard Blazers 2, Dendy Town Hornets 0. We'll be back to do our picks, look at the FA Cup semifinal draw as well. We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. And fortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, you know, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Putting down the weapons.
You seen this?
And welcome back. Well, on Friday at the Clyde Best Center of Excellence boardroom, the Bermuda Football Association hosted the FA Cup semifinal draw. And the draw is as follows. On Wednesday, March 8th, at the Devonshire Recreation Club, St. George's Colts will take on the PHC Zebras. And on Thursday, March 9th, at the PHC Stadium, the Paget Lions will take on the North Village Rams. Two very interesting, intriguing matchups. Punchy, let's talk about that first one. St. George's against PHC.
Yeah. Oh, Devonshire Rack.
Oh, Devonshire
You know,
Rack.
remember St. George's? Yeah, St. George's. But I'm glad they're not playing at home. I'm glad they're not playing at home.
Right.
You know, I think the St. George's is up for this. They're gonna be up for this. Yeah. And you know, you got to think that they're still in a position to possibly win the league.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all to play for. There's all to play for. Even with the history of PHC, this one here, I'm gonna go with St. George's for this.
Mm.
And that's on Wednesday night game.
Wednesday night, yeah.
Oh
But
yeah,
we're not
I'm
to
going
our picks yet. We have another week to do that pick. We have another week. That's week after next Wednesday
Yeah,
night.
I'm gonna go with St. George's for this.
Yeah.
I don't think I know they got to go up to they got PHC in the league also coming.
Yes.
But for this one here, I'm gonna go with St. George's to beat PHC.
Well, they beat Devonshire Cougars at Devonshire Cougars in the quarterfinal to make it to the semifinal. So they'll be in familiar territory. It's a smaller field. I mean, you gotta take your chances.
Yeah, I think if Blaze Hall, I think one of the Hall brothers, I hope that he's going to be ready for this match.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be most important for this game.
Mm-hmm.
But with St. George's, I've seen them when they're at Devonshire Rec in the night game. They're following.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're up for this. I'm going to pick St. George's to win this.
Okay. Macy, your thoughts on the Paget Lions North Village game at PHC Stadium on a Thursday night? Antoine's going home.
Yeah, I said it at the beginning that the only chance Paget here of advancing in the FA Cup if they got a North Village, because North Village are not that type of strike force as St. George's and PHC for when they're not a physical team that can overrun you.
Mm-hmm.
The only chance that Paget here would to be play a North Village, but they're not going to be North Village.
Mm.
They're not going to be North Village. They won't be North Village. North Village will find herself in the final of this. Paget just doesn't have the pedigree that it takes to beat North Village. Paget's shown that they can't stop scoring goals. They can't stop linking goals.
Mm.
And the players are not going to have played at the level of intensity that's required to play against a Premier team.
Right.
And they will have got away with some bad habits in the lower division, bad mistakes that don't get punished.
Right.
North Village will come organized, and North Village, and it will be probably ends up being a struggle for North Village, but North Village would do what they've been doing all this time, get the game across the line.
Right.
So I'm picking North Village.
Sure. Well, let's look at our picks from this week.
Did you ask me about I didn't pick for the other semifinal.
No. What I'm picking, we're picking the semifinals next week. I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the game itself, because they play week after next Wednesday. They play
Okay.
Wednesday and Thursday, week after next, not next week. Not this week coming up. They play the following week. So we have another show to do that pick. Just heating things up. So quickly, looking at the results from this week, the Somerset St. George's game. We all took St. George's. Robin Hood and PHC, we all took PHC. Hamilton Parish and North Village. Myself, Maceo, and Coach Keita took North Village. Punchy, you took a draw. So we each picked up a point without Punchy getting a point there. We all took Devonshire Cougars to defeat Crossroads, and that did happen, 2-0. We all took BAA to defeat Somerset Eagles. They won 2-1. We all, with the exception of Coach Keita, took Paget to beat Young Men's Social Club. So Coach Keita was the only one to get a point there. Southampton Rangers, we all took to beat Ireland Rangers, and Southampton Rangers won that 5-0. We all, with the exception of Coach Keita, took Devonshire Colts to beat St. David's, and we know Devonshire Colts beat St. David's 2-1. So at the end of it, it was 7 for me, 6 for Punchy, 7 for Maceo, 7 for Coach Keita, with the game Boulevard and Dandytown to be decided later on this evening. Now, we get into our picks for this week coming up. And I'm going to start with you, Punchy. On Thursday night, Robin Hood entertained Crossroads at BAA Field.
Oh, wow. What a turnaround for Robin Hood. I still going to go. I'm going to go with Crossroads to win this.
Okay.
I think maybe just, again with Crossroads, what they've been through. Even though they've succumbed to 9 goals in 2 games, I still do believe that they have the firepower to beat a team like Robin Hood. Even though Robin Hood again did really well considering against PHC, but I'm gonna pick Crossroads to win this.
Okay. ACL?
Yeah, Crossroads will be 2. It'd be a no-brainer for them.
Okay. And I'm going to take Crossroads as well to get something out of this particular game. Saturday night up at the PHC Stadium, Maceo, PHC Zebras host the St. George's Colts.
Yeah, PHC. Yeah, St. George's Colts in their first season up here, they're moving into territory that's unknown to them. This is unknown territory, and that shows up in certain things that this is unknown territory, and they don't know what to do in this unknown territory. So PHC are moving into territory that's very comfortable for them.
Ooh.
Yeah, so PHC. And PHC, yeah.
To nobody's surprise, I'm going to take St. George's. And you know why? PHC have lost all their night games with the exception of beating Hamilton Parish in extra time of the FA Cup. During the day, they have no problems. They've had trouble at night. And that's the reason I'm going to take St. George's to win this game. Upset them. And it would turn the league on its head.
Oh, it would. It would be exciting. It would definitely be exciting with it. But I think the coaching staff and the PHC, they're gonna have their glasses on. They're gonna be able to see at night.
Okay, all right. The coaching staff can have their glasses on. It's the players. Punchy?
Earl, I'm gonna be on your side on this one. I always speak about St. George's when they play away from home. They don't do bad at all. Now, if they remember the 2 games they've lost to PHC, I've had a discussion with some of the players, with somebody I work with, and also some of the guys, the coaching staff. I said, you look at how they concede the goals against PHC. It's always very early. In the first 15 or 20 minutes, they use PHC usually 2-0 up against them. I said, if you could fix that, if you somehow could fix that, and will them, get to the half being maybe a no, or even being in front. I think they have a good chance to win this game. I'm good with St. George's to win this right on that night game. I agree with you, Earl. St. George's have been in them. Of course, they haven't been in this predicament before. Right. If this game counts, you must win this game.
Listen, if they don't win this game, they can't win the league. If they don't win this game, they can't win the league.
I'm going with St. George's to win this.
You guys are forcing me to be very tactical on the opinion. Because it is gonna boil down to can St. George's defend. And I don't know that over the season, but it really counts that they fix those defensive problems that they have. The road to lock at times. So it's gonna be an error in defending, and we know PHC can attack. So you got a unit that can attack you. You got a unit that can attack you. And PHC is showing that they can, when it comes that they can defend, they can,
Interesting you say that, Maceo. Interesting you say that. Both teams have scored 51 goals this year. PHC's given up 17. St. George's have given up 15. And 3 of those goals that they've given up were at home to PHC in the league.
Were interesting. That's a very, very interesting stat. Yeah. That's an interesting stat that PHC had given up more goals than St. George's. And the two I've seen both games PHC playing St. George's. It's almost like the way St. George's players suits PHC more. Because they're a bit open. Right. They're a bit open and attacking, and that suits PHC a little bit more. But it's going to be interesting if St. George's can turn this on his head. Yeah, that will be.
But you know what the funny part about that is? I'm pretty sure Devonshire Cougars players and North Village players will be up PHC at 8 o'clock on Saturday night rooting for St. George's.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that I think is going to bode in PAT's favor, right? Because now we're in the pressure situation and the expectation situation, and I think PAC just deals with that. They're just going to deal with that battle. They're gonna deal with that part of the game better.
Right. Okay, so the next match on Sunday at BAA Field, Dandytown Hornets entertain the Somerset Trojans. Despite what happens this evening, I'm still gonna take the Dandytown Hornets because I think they'll have enough to get by the Somerset Trojans. Punchy.
Yeah, I'm not even going to draw. I think Dandytown will get by. They're just, you know, when I saw them play last week against North Village, I said, this team is the talent, you know. It's like, just what is wrong with this team? What is going, you know? And then, like tonight, they're losing to nothing. It's, you could see, and I did say this last week, the camaraderie. It's like, I'm just playing now, you guys. They've already talented. I'm just playing now. Just get over the season. That's all. But I still in this game here. I'm gonna pick Dandytown to win this one. Yeah.
They could also be doing the neighbors a favor, helping them get out of the relegation.
Right.
I was gonna get into that piece. I'm gonna tell you what's really happening here. I'm gonna tell you what's really happening. Dandytown don't like North Village. They were gonna play their hearts out to make sure they put a stop to North Village. Right. Dandytown don't really mind Boulevard. They don't really mind Boulevard, so they might not play the back. Dandytown don't like Somerset. They're gonna take they're gonna take Somerset. Dandytown would prefer Cougars to win the league. So when they play PAC,
right,
that's gonna be another battle. So Dandytown can really hold the cards. And that goes to the notion that I said, well, it might be for one of these teams to lose the league rather than win the league.
Right.
You know, and teams like Dandytown could decide that.
Yeah.
I thought Paris was going to be a team that was going to decide the league, but they're not. But Dandytown has the stature as a club, as players, they can decide the league. They can decide who they want to win it. And the word out Dandytown, they prefer Cougars to win it.
Okay. Well, before you make your pick between Dandytown and Somerset, we have another update at halftime. The score is now Boulevard Blazers 2, Dandytown Hornets 1. So, Mayfield, who do you pick? Hornets or Trojans?
I'm picking the Hornets. They'll beat the Trojans. They're gonna happily beat Scott Morton.
Okay. All right, Punchy, you're up. North Village Rams entertain Boulevard Blazers at Bernard Park.
Sure. Well, it depends on what happens tonight. Trust me. You remember when I said Boulevard's always, this is like a rivalry. Just like in North Village with Cougars. It's a rivalry. Boulevard will come down there next Sunday and play their butts off. Especially if they win tonight. And you know what's going on, the crisis that at Boulevard. But of course, it's nothing on their shoulders. They're not, they ain't got nothing to lose now.
Right,
so they're going to play their butts off next Sunday. And this is going to be a hard one. I think North Village can get over the line with this one. I'm going to pick North Village to win this, even with the crisis at Boulevard. Okay. North Village again today were very below standard. But I think they'll get across the line against Boulevard next Sunday.
Makes you?
Yeah, with Malcolm Huey back on Boulevard helping out, he relates to those players. He triggers those players. Yeah, and to be honest, Boulevard's got a better individual player than North Village at this time. The game's going to get hard, and Boulevard will beat North Village. I'm picking Boulevard to beat North Village because Boulevard's going to be needing these points. They sense they can get out of this relegation battle. They sense that, and those personality of players, they deal with pressure a lot better. You know, they just have general pressure in their life, and they deal with it. They deal with it a lot better.
Okay, well, as they have done all season, North Village do just enough to get over the line. I think they'll have enough at home on Sunday to just edge out the Boulevard Blazers. So I'm taking North Village for this particular game here. Maceo, you're up. Final game of the Premier Division for next week is Devonshire Cougars entertain Hamilton Parish.
Yeah, Cougars will beat that. Parish has already shown that they have nothing to play for, so they don't have that extra. They don't have that extra that it's going to take to win games. So Cougars will beat that.
Yeah, I've already put down Cougars to win that match. Punchy?
I'm gonna go with Cougars to win this one. Yeah, I Hamilton Parish, what I saw today, with what I've witnessed today.
Okay.
So much more to offer, but with Cougars, they got this more momentum for them. They got left to lead. So I'm Cougars to win this.
Okay. So Maceo, check this out. If Punchy and I get them all right, Devonshire Cougars will be the league leaders at the end of next week.
That's right.
North Village will be second. I'm sorry, no, St. George's will be second, and North Village will be third with PHC fourth. If you get them right, PHC will be the league leaders. Devonshire Cougars will be second. St. George's will be third, and North Village will be fourth.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting that you got 4 teams competing, right? It bodes well that the excitement and keeping people focused and the intensity that comes with the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's I'm leaning towards PHC because of just what I'm seeing them do. I am leaning towards PHC, and then they should be disappointed if they don't win that. And if it's not PHC, the other team that I think will win it is Cougars. I'll be highly surprised if St. George's or North Village pull this out.
Okay. Any time will tell. Time will tell. On Saturday at the BAA field, BAA hosts St. David's. I've already taken BAA. Punchy.
I'm taking this hands down BAA to win that.
Okay. Maceo?
Yeah, the St. David's people will give it to them. They like Andrew, so.
They needed to win the league?
Yeah, Andrew comes from St. David's, so he has a historical affiliation with them, so they'll give it to him.
Ooh. After those kids down there that are playing they might know.
Yeah.
Well, they might know that he's from St. David's. They'll know him, but yeah. On Sunday at White Hill Field, Punchy, Somerset Eagles take on Southampton Rangers.
Oh, wow. I'm going Rangers to win this. Yep, that's yeah. Somerset Eagles. No, I don't even at home. I think Rangers, with what they accomplished this week. Yeah, I'm Rangers to win this.
Okay. Maceo?
Rangers. Somerset Eagles is one game this season, right? Only one game they won?
One game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, they got what they wanted. It's Rangers will beat this.
Hey, it's funny. Somerset Eagles beat Island Rangers in the one game, right? How interesting would it be for them to beat the other Rangers?
Oh, wow. I don't think that's gonna happen.
We got some voodoo stuff going on in football.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen at all.
I got some voodoo stuff, but
I don't know what's going on.
I'm putting my mouth on it. Although I'm gonna take Rangers, I'm putting my mouth on it. See, I'm gonna take Rangers.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Next game. Maceo, I'm sorry. You went first.
I think it's me.
Yeah, you're up now. Wolves entertain Island Rangers down at Wellington Oval.
Yeah, Wolves will pull this off. Wolves will pull this off.
Okay. I'm going to take Wolves as well because they need to stay in that title race. Punchy?
I'm going to take Wolves to win that. If Island Rangers traveling on the race, no. Wolves are going to win this. They, it just gives them hope for the title race. That's it.
Right. Well, we haven't
promotion race. I mean,
yeah, we haven't talked about a scenario. I know right now, like we said earlier, Paget having injuries and so forth. Their biggest game of the season would be this game against Devonshire Colts because it's prior to the game, the FA Cup game, which every player is going to want to play. So they're not gonna. But listen, if you're on 2 cards or 3 cards, you're not getting a card. You're not. A lot of stuff will be allowed to let go, but it's how they manage this particular game. And I think Devon's coach is going to come in and be very physical with them, knowing that Paget, who are a very physical team, may not want to respond to that physicality because some guys will have their eyes on that semifinal. I'm actually going to take this game as a draw. Punchy?
Well, you're right with the injuries, especially with Antoine. If Antoine's not going to be playing, I'll say to you, you cut off the supply route to Antoine and
their biggest problem, their biggest concern right now is Dion Stubble. He's got a shoulder injury.
Yeah, it's Dion Stubble, and then there's Shakir. So if some teams can figure out how the supply route, then. But I still don't think, that Devin Schultz is up for this. I don't think so. I think when I watched him play before in the FA Cup, I think, you're going for Joe. I think I'm going to put Paget to win this. Okay. It's just going to be a hype for the next week against North Village. Sure. The next game against North Village. So I'm picking Paget to beat Devin Schultz. Okay.
Matthew?
Yeah, Patrick is giving those type of players are giving themselves just what they need to respond and be motivated, which is pressure. And those type of players, they respond well to pressure. They will respond to the pressure that they're put themselves in, and they'll beat Devonshire Colts. I see this similar to when they put themselves under pressure when BA beat them. They'll respond to it.
Okay. All right. Well, last week we selected the player of the month, and this was the presentation at Gosling's.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ethan Phillip here for Gosling's Rum, and I'm here with Paul Simons. Paul has done a fantastic job this month, and he is actually our player of the month. So to congratulate him, here's a gift certificate for $250. And congratulations to you and your team. I hope you guys do a successful job this year, all right?
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, cool.
I want to congratulate again Paul Simons for being named the player of the month. Well, we have 2 sets of player of the weeks to decide, and of course we want to discuss the 2 weeks ago the FA Challenge Cup, and in the runnings for that was Giselle Smith de Shields, 2 goals for North Village against Crossroads, Antoine Russell, 3 goals in the first 21 minutes for Paget against the Young Guns, Blaise Halls, 2 goals for St. George's Colts against Devonshire Cougars, and Janico Seeley, 2 goals for PHC against Hamilton Parish in extra time. Coach Keita has indicated she voted for Blaise Hall. Maceo, for this particular week. Maceo, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would concur. Blaise Hall, the circumstances that he scored the goals under, against the team that he scored the goals under, it took his club and St. George's into a new dimension, somewhere that they've not been before. So those were very important goals.
Okay.
So I would also say Blaise Hall, and that and also what he's been doing the whole season as well, right?
Punchy?
I'm going with you guys with Blaise Hall on this. I mean, I was out to that game, and the second goal just remarkable. Even though I thought defensively, let's talk about how he did that when the ball came. When he played that 1-2 with his brother, the ball was in space. And the calmness, how he took what he did. It still was difficult. He still had a ways to go.
Yeah.
But he stayed calm and just I was behind the goal, and I was like, whoa, this guy really, he did that. He has those capabilities. Blaise Hall it's wow. It's a joy to watch. I'm going with him for the player of the week for sure.
Okay. All right. So we want to congratulate Blaise Hall for being the player of the week for 2 weeks ago. And last week we had Akeem Johnson scoring 2 goals for the Boulevard Blazers against Robin Hood. Janico Seeley, a hat trick for PHC against Crossroads. And Antoine Russell, 2 goals for Paget against Island Rangers. again, I let you know that Coach Keeter selected Janico Seeley from PHC. Your thoughts, Maceo?
Yeah, I will go with Janico Seeley. I mean, 2 weeks in a row that he's popped up with important situations for PHC. I think the week before when he came off the bench and scored 2 goals against Hampton Parish was big as well, right? But Blaise Hall's contribution was just a bit more for me. So this week, Niall scoring a hat trick, in a very, very important match, he gets my pick.
Mm-hmm. Country?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mr. Seeley, Jamico Seeley also. He's still young, he's still developing, but with that game, the way PHC plays suits it, quick, good finisher. Good finisher for such a young man. I'm good. I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna go with him for the player of the week. Yeah.
Okay, so regardless of who I pick, we want to congratulate Janico Seeley being named player of the week from PHC Zebras. So we've come to the end of another IslandStats.com football show. We'll be back next Sunday. And then, of course, next Sunday we'll be talking about this league with 2 games to play. And then we'll be talking about the FA Cup semifinals. So it'll be very interesting Sunday night talk. Again, as we leave the show, the score out of BAA at the half is Boulevard Blazers 2, Dandytown Hornets 1. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining this evening. We'll talk to you again later. Have a good night.
Yeah.